Hey guys, welcome back. And week 8 of the NFL season was one of the wildest weekends that we've gotten all year. So many games coming down to the wire, some big upsets in here. And the draft order has shaken up a little bit from where it was just a week ago. So I'm really excited about this mock draft. We are going to be doing a 1 round mock draft, no trades. Next week, we will be doing our a 3 round mock right after the trade deadline. So we haven't gone that deep into the class yet, but I'm super excited to get to talk about some players that maybe aren't necessarily first round guys, but they could go in day 2. But this is going to be a mock draft that's going to have a lot of new names in there. Some players that I'm quite a big fan of that I think are boosting their stock. So if you guys are new to the channel, we do mock drafts every week. Hit that like and subscribe button. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the videos. Leave a comment. Let me know which players you guys would be interested in seeing in a future video, prospect spotlights, and which players you think should be in the first round. But let's get this started with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, they put Bryce Young back in the game against the Broncos this week, and things considered, I thought Bryce was decent. I don't think that is going to be – I still feel like Bryce Young has potential here in Carolina. And that being said, this is a team that I think has a million other needs. Corner with J.C. Horn potentially on the move. Receiver now with Deontay Johnson out. Adam Thielen could be next. So I do think you could see a few trades, and I'm just going to go with best player available. I think that's kind of what you have to do if you are Carolina. To me, it's Travis Hunter, an elite wide receiver coming off a week where he won Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. He won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week not too long ago. He's an unbelievable talent. And for a Carolina team that has a bunch of needs, I think Travis Hunter can play a bit of everywhere. And to the people that say, oh, Travis isn't going to Carolina, these players don't really get a say in where they do and don't go. So he's going to go number 1. And then the Titans at number 2. Now, this is a quarterback team to me. When I look at the Titans, I don't really see a franchise that needs a quarterback more. Maybe you could argue the Raiders or some of those teams, but I think that the Titans have been in a bit of a quarterback search really since Ryan Tannehill, and they need to go with their guy. And I think it's a 2-man race for QB1 right now, and Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to go with Cam Ward. I think the athleticism and what he can do out of structure is a little bit more impressive. Shedeur Sanders is an awesome player. He's got good arm talent. The mechanics have started to get cleaned up, and he's really accurate. But you see it every time NFL teams want to bet on upside, and I think Cam Ward has the upside that a lot of these NFL teams are looking for. So give me Cam Ward at number 2 to the Tennessee Titans. At number 3, we got the New England Patriots. Offensive line continues to be a big need. I know a lot of people love Kelvin Banks. He's having a really strong season for Texas. A lot of people call it Cameron Williams because the traits are all there, but I've not wavered on who my number 1 offensive lineman is. Didn't have the greatest game, but I think Will Campbell is the right fit. He is so technically sound in pass protection. He's got really good hands, does a good job of countering pass rushers. He's got a strong base, good anchor. And when he can connect in the run game, he's a good run blocker. The athleticism, the arm length, it's going to be a concern with him leading up to the draft, but it is overall not something that I am extremely worried about. And I really like what Will Campbell brings to the table. So I'm going to take him here at number 3. At number 4, we got the New York Jets. Man, this is the biggest disappointment of the season. The Jets should not be in the top 5 nearly halfway through the year, but nonetheless, here we are. Their defense has been a big disappointment this year. The inability to rush the passer, create pressure up front, I think has been the difference from this year and last year. Last year, they had one of the best defenses in all of football. They had a great secondary, which has not played awesome up to this point either. This is a team that I think has quite a few needs that they could look to address, but the defensive line is the issue that I'm going to go with. I've gone Mason Graham the last few weeks, and I still stand by that pick. I think he makes a lot of sense. Pair him alongside Quinnen Williams, who is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He's having a down year. I'm going to just stick with the pick. I think Mason Graham is one of these just no-brainer top 5 guys in the class. He's incredibly athletic. He's a good run defender. He can rush the passer at a really high level as well. does a lot of things that you love to see from the interior of the defensive line. And I think he's going to be a top 10 pick at the very worst. And I think it makes a lot of sense to the Jets at 4. At number 5, I think we see the other Michigan defender come off the board in cornerback Will Johnson. I don't know if he's going to play again this season. I really don't think he needs to play again this season, to be completely honest with you. I think he is locked up that CB1 with his play the last couple of seasons. The tape that he has been absolutely phenomenal. The size, ball skills, movement abilities, the ability to play in off-man, zone, press. He can really do everything you want from the cornerback position. Might not be the most reliable tackler in the world, but he's such a good player. He's such a talented corner. I've got him as going number 5 to Jacksonville, who outside of Tyson Campbell, their secondary has been an absolute train wreck this season. So I've got him going number 5. At number 6, we have the New Orleans Saints. There's another one of these teams I could see going a million different ways. Interior of the defensive line, offensive line, receiver, safety, edge rusher. I think all of them are legitimate options, but we're going to go with the last one I mentioned and going to go off the edge. I'm going to bet on upside and take Abdul Carter here. I like James Pierce better, but when you look at kind of the Saints running this 4-3 scheme, this traditional 4-3 scheme, I think Abdul Carter fits that a little bit better as that 4-3 edge. James Pierce is more athletic. I see him more in that designated pass rush role, maybe as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but this Saints team has had a really disappointing season. They have not been able to create pressure. Cam Jordan has been a disaster for them this year. I think we could be seeing his final season play out. Same thing with Chase Young. Looks like he could be on the move. Carl Granderson's been inconsistent. I think you just take one of these high upside, freakish athletic edge rushers and hope he pans out. I think Abdul Carter, he's a guy that a lot of people really, really love. And I think he's got the upside to be an elite player at the NFL level. So we're going to take him at number 6 to the Saints. At number 7, you saw it coming. I just didn't see a team that needed a quarterback. It's Shedeur Sanders, though. I have Sanders and Ward basically 1A, 1B in terms of quarterbacks on the board. I love his accuracy, love his pocket presence, love the clutch nature that he plays the position with. And Vegas is a team that is in desperate need of a quarterback. This Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell experiment should be over. It's a disaster. And you got to go with one of these guys that I think right out the gate, he is going to have an impact at the NFL level because of his pocket presence, his ability to just hit open receivers at all times. I think he's a really, really good player. I'm going to be taking him at number 7. At number 8, we do have the Cleveland Browns, and Jameis Winston's playing good football for this team. I'm not going to go with the quarterback here. I just think it's too early for the Browns to take a quarterback. But the offensive line has been a bit of a mess this year. They have struggled at the tackle position. So give me Kelvin Banks, a really athletic offensive tackle from Texas who has been incredibly productive in both pass protection and as a run blocker. I think he's going to do a lot of things incredibly well at the NFL level. He does allow a step to the outside. I think some of his technique and he does lunge from time to time. Would definitely like to see that get cleaned up. But I think there's a very strong case you can make that he's the top tackle in this draft class. I know a lot of people will make that case. And I think for a Cleveland team that has struggled to protect their quarterbacks all season long, getting a guy like Kelvin Banks in there, I think makes a ton of sense. At number 9, we have the New York Giants. And man, this is a really interesting one because I think it's a quarterback. I don't really think there's any question in my mind on which position it's going to be. But let's just look at the quarterback class right now. You got Jalen Milroe, who is the number 10 player on here. The inconsistency, the inaccuracy at times, I think worries you. Carson Beck, I think, has slid out of first-round consideration. Quinn Ewers, I'm kind of in the same boat with. I think his offense kind of allows him to take it easy. He isn't asked to take a lot of these deep shots, and I just don't feel like he's going to be a first-round pick. And then you get into the next two. Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller, who are playing really good football, particularly Garrett Nussmeier, who just makes the NFL throws every single week. He is such an accurate passer of the football. He's also got a really good arm. I think him and have the best arms in the draft class. And Nussmeier is just performing at a really high level. I'm taking Garrett Nussmeier at number 9. I've seen him be as high as QB1 on some people's boards. I've got him at QB3. He jumped Jalen Milroe after, he had 2 interceptions this week against Texas A&M. Shout out my guy BJ Mays. But I like Garrett Nussmeier. I like what he brings to the table. And I think he is a safer bet right now than what Jalen Milroe is going to be able to bring you. At number 10, we got the Miami Dolphins sticking on the train of going with an offensive lineman. I'm going to take Ariante Ursary. I love his versatility. He can play left tackle, right tackle, maybe could swing guard. He's a really good athlete. Gets to the second level, is a very consistent run blocker, and is a very smart football player as well. He continues to make strides. It is starting to make a little bit more sense why he could be a top 10 pick in this draft. Playing really good football for Minnesota. I've got him going 10 to Miami. At number 11, the Cincinnati Bengals. Had a Bengals fan last week upset that James Pierce came off the board the pick before them. It's not going to be the case today. James Pierce is going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I love James Pierce. I am a Tennessee fan, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here. But the athletic tools, they're hard to deny. They really are. He's got incredible burst, quickness, bend. I do think he's got more of a pass rushing bag than people want to give him credit for. It's the run defense that I do worry about with him a little bit. But if he's kind of playing as that designated pass rusher in that Micah Parsons linebacker-ish role, which is where I think he profiles, I think he could be a monster at the next level. I'm a huge fan of James Pierce and what he could bring to the NFL. And I've got him going number 11 to Cincinnati. At number 12, we do have the Los Angeles Rams. I'm considering going a route that I haven't gone yet before, because I look at the cornerback class, which I think everyone is in agreement is the biggest position of need for the Rams. But I look at this, Benjamin Morrison, season-ending injury, Savon Ravel, season-ending injury, and I really don't think any other corner is worth talking about here at number 12, at least up to this point. I like the interior of the defensive line with Braden Fisk and with Kobe Turner. I think edge rusher with Byron Young and Jared Verse looks good. And I think the offensive line, they've got a lot of injuries on the O-line. I don't really think offensive line is a position that I'm too concerned with. Receiver could be a position you talk yourself into. You got all the receivers on the board here. And you got Tetairoa McMillan, who I think kind of fits that mold of the Puka Nacua type receivers. I don't really think that would be the route I'd want to go with this team. Luther Burden does make sense to them as that slot weapon, the guy who could catch these deep shots, similar to what they had with Odell Beckham. But as of now, Cooper Kupp is still on the roster. I'm going to bet that he is going into next season. So it kind of leaves you in a tough predicament. And I'm going to take a quarterback, and I am going to take Jalen Milroe. Milroe is this quarterback that I've talked about. I talked about the inconsistencies. The reason I'm taking him to the Rams over the Giants, he's not starting next year. This is a guy you're drafting. You're putting him on ice for a couple of years. You're like, hey, we need you to learn to improve your footwork, improve your consistency. Because if he can do that, I think everyone is in agreement he could be an elite quarterback at the next level. And the Rams are a team that I think has quite a few players I feel really good about. It's too early to go linebacker. Maybe go Jalen Walker there. But overall, I think Milroe is a very interesting possibility and one that we had not discussed up to this point. So I'm going to take him at number 12. At number 13 is the Dallas Cowboys. We're taking Ashton Jeanty until they can prove that they can run the football. Ashton Jeanty is a generational blue chip running back prospect. And I think he makes all the sense in the world. You need consistency from him. And I think he's got all the upside to be, or you need consistency from your run game. And I think Ashton Jeanty has every opportunity to be one of the best players that comes out of this draft class. At number 14, we have my Indianapolis Colts. We are not taking a quarterback. I know people are going to talk about that in the comments. I think Anthony Richardson's going to come back, and I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. At least that's my gut feeling as of today. The news broke a few hours ago that they benched him for the game on Sunday night. I still feel like he comes back this season. But nonetheless, you've got to protect your quarterback, and it's not the offensive line that's got to. You've got to get him weapons across the middle that can be consistent, because the amount of drops that this Colts team has suffered from this year cannot fly at the next level. Josh Downs has been the only real consistent force in this receiving room. That's going to change. I'm not taking a receiver, though. I think Adonai Mitchell, some of these guys can develop. I'm going to take Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Now, I like Colston Loveland better in terms of upside and what he brings to the modern NFL. I think he's profiles a little bit better. But for the Colts, a team that needs like a safety blanket for your quarterback, somebody that is just going to play at that 10 to 15 yard sort of range, and he's going to be consistent. He's got good hands, but he also can chip and block at times as well. Tyler Warren's having an unbelievable Heisman-like season for Penn State. This is the highest we've had him go all season long. I think he makes a lot of sense to the Colts. We're going to take him at number 14. At number 15, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a really good situation right now because the corners are on the board. The edge rushers are mostly on the board. I also think you've got upside to take one of the receivers because outside of Godwin and Evans, the receiving room is not great. We're seeing that right now. I am going to take an edge rusher and kind of continue to boost this defensive front. I like Michael Williams fit for them, the 6'5", 265-pound edge rusher from Georgia, a player that I think you could almost like, he isn't going to be asked to be the number one or even the number two right away. But he has the upside to develop into an elite player. The athleticism, I think he's a fantastic run defender at the next level. Also, he's got a lot of tools. He's got a lot of traits, and that's what's going to get him drafted extremely high in this class. I'm taking him here at number 15. At number 16, we got the Seattle Seahawks, and tough spot for the Seahawks to be in. I definitely am taking offensive line here. And it's going to be Emory Jones, and it's not one that I love. Josh Simmons would be the pick here. I don't know if he's going to declare. So until we kind of get further news on that, he tore his ACL. So I'm just not going to take him until then. But I'm going to take Emory Jones. Emory Jones, I think, does profile better to guard at the next level. So we'll see what that's all about. I like his athleticism. I think he's a really good run blocker. He's got to improve his polish as a pass protector, but I do think the upside is there for him to be a really, really good offensive tackle at the next level. Whether it's tackle or guard, I do believe Emory Jones is a starting caliber offensive lineman at the NFL level. I'm going to take him there at number 16. At number 17, we got the 49ers. The secondary has dealt with its fair share of ups and downs this season, but I think the safety play has been good. I like what you've gotten from Renardo Green, and Diamador Lenore is a really good slot. So I'm not going to go that direction. I'm going to go with the defensive lineman on the interior, though. We are not going to go with an edge rusher. That seems to be a route we go too often. Give me Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, a super freak athlete at 305 pounds. Thank you to whoever it was that corrected me on that. 305 pounds. He moves so fluidly. He is an incredible pass rusher, or he's an incredible run defender. Let me correct this, who I think plays well off of Javon Hargrave when he comes back. But Walter Nolan brings a little bit more as a pass rusher that hasn't quite been tapped into yet. He can play in a 3-4 as a defensive end. He can play as a 4-3 interior defensive tackle. He's got a ton of tools. And for a Niners team that I think has been looking for a solution on the interior of their defensive line, I think Walter Nolan can bring that to you. At number 18, we got the Chicago Bears. Taking an edge rusher here. You got to be able to create pressure. Nick Scorton on the board is a home run if you are a Bears fan. Scorton is one of the youngest players in this draft class. He's an incredible athlete that rushes with a ton of power. And that's something that should excite you as a Bears fan. Now you've got Montez Sweat and Nick Scorton on opposite sides with a tremendous amount of power, and they're going to be wreaking heck on opposing quarterbacks. So really like what we've gotten from Scorton this year. I've got him going at number 18 to Chicago. At number 19, we got the Arizona Cardinals. Man, all the receivers still on the board, but I still think this is a team that needs to continue to just address the defense. Darius Robinson is coming back, but I think getting a true run stuffer in the middle for this team makes a lot of sense. Also, could go edge. I still love Princely Umanmielen, and I think that's the route I'm going to go. We're going to take Princely Umanmielen. Great bend, great power, awesome length and size for the edge rusher position. This team just doesn't have a guy off the edge that you can trust to consistently get in the backfield and create pressure. I think Princely immediately comes in and is the number one rusher on this team. So we're going to take him here at number 20 or number 19, excuse me, at number 20. It's going to be Tetero McMillan. Not even going to think twice about this one. I think this makes every bit of sense in the world. You need size in this receiving room. You need a guy that Justin Herbert can consistently get the ball out to, and he's going to go win the tough catches. You need a receiver that can win downfield. He doesn't have to be the greatest route runner, but his hands, his contested catch ability, his ability to make guys miss in space, that's what this team needs. You get 6'5", 205, Tetero McMillan, who's had a really good season for a really disappointing Arizona team. He comes in and you pair him with Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. You might have one of the most well-rounded receiving groups in all of football. I love this move for the Chargers. Got him going at number 20. And then at 21, I think this is a situation where you have to go edge rusher. Despite the edge rush talent not being great on the board for you, I think you just have to do it. And I mean, you could go Landon Jackson, you could go Ashton Solati, Braden Swinson, Kyle Kennard. I'm taking Donovan Ezeraku. I love this guy. I love what he brings as a rusher. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the lack of creativity as a rusher with him, but I don't know. I think he's got more pass rush moves than people give him credit for. Had a really nasty up and under move, good rip through move. He's a player I really like, and it's an Atlanta team that just has to be able to create pressure. They have absolutely zero threat of a pass rush, really at any point. You've got to be able to create pressure on the quarterback, and this Falcons team, that could be what hurts them come playoff time. So I've got Ezeraku going at number 21 to the Falcons. And then at number 22, we are going to go with a receiver to the Broncos, and that is going to be Luther Burden out of Missouri. I'm still holding out stock. I know a lot of people are down on Luther Burden this year. To an extent, I get it. It hasn't had a great season for Missouri, but look, the athleticism's there. The ability to get him the ball in space on screens and bubble screens and these short crossers, and he just has the ability to make guys miss. He is elusive in the open field. He makes big plays happen, and that should really excite you if you are a Broncos fan, because you're really not having a great season from this receiving core. You look at the receivers on this team. Sutton finally got involved last week against Carolina. He's had a bit of a down year. I think you've got to go out and improve the receiving room a little bit, and I'm going to take Luther Burden. I think he's the right choice. For the Baltimore Ravens, I would have gone receiver here, but they traded for Deontay Johnson a few hours ago at the time of recording this. So now you're kind of wondering, where do you go next with this team? I do think the offensive line could be the position that you look to address. Left tackle could be a long-term position that you look to upgrade. You've got why am I blanking on his name? You've got the tackle that's been there for quite a while. His name is on the tip of my tongue, but your left tackle has been there for a while. He's been up and down, in and out of the lineup, and maybe you look to upgrade there. I think the interior has been pretty solid. I like Jonas Savaiinaya a little bit as an option here, but I want to go with a player I've not taken to this team yet before. I'm going to take Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia. He's been super productive as both a pass protector and a run blocker throughout his time at West Virginia. He is going to be your long-term left tackle. He's consistent. He's an athlete, gets to space, blocks. He's got a really good mentality. I'm a huge fan of Wyatt Millam. I think he makes all the sense in the world. We're going to take him at number 23. At 24, now I would go linebacker, but you're starting to get good play out of both Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. So maybe a linebacker is not the position that you want to go with if you are the Eagles. But where do you want to go if you're the Eagles? I think edge rusher could be in play. I think receiver could also be in play. Maybe that third weapon that this team has really lacked. Maybe some speed. I'm going to take Isaiah Bond here and get some explosiveness for this Eagles receiving room. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they've dealt with their fair share of injuries in their career, but getting a guy like Bond in the room with just 4.3 electric speed to take the top off the defense, might be what this team needs to take it to the next level. So I'm going to take him here at number 24. At 25, we got the Minnesota Vikings taking one of the corners off the board. I like Savon Ravel. We're keeping him in purple and gold. I think he's a better tackler than Benjamin Morrison. I think he's a little bit more scheme versatile than Benjamin Morrison. And while Morrison is an elite player, I think Savon Ravel brings a little bit more in terms of size, ball skills, and just the tackling element of it all. So I'm a huge fan of Savon Ravel. The injuries don't really scare me away from either of these guys. I think they're both first-round talents, but I am going to take Ravel here at number 25. At number 26, we got the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go with another player that is kind of sliding into first-round conversations right now that we haven't taken just yet. And it's not an interior defensive lineman. It's going to be Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Really interesting player because he is 290 pounds, 6'6". All the tools in the world are there. He's got versatility, but he's an edge rusher. And I think really where he really impressed me was his ability to win in a number of ways. He is an unbelievable power rusher with a nasty bull rush. But he had more pass rush moves in his repertoire than you would have expected. He had a swim and an up and under, and he had the ability to kind of make plays happen. Really, really fun player that is starting to slide into first-round consideration. Now, there are a couple of edge rushers that I like over him that we haven't taken. I like David Walker from Central Arkansas. I like Mike Green from Marshall. I like Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. I think all those guys are right at the top end of the second round for me in my top 50-ish players. That being said, I think if we're going off traits and the NFL draft, Shamar Stewart's probably going to be a first-round pick. He's like 20 years old. He's got all the athleticism, all the traits. We're going to take him at 26 to Buffalo. At number 27, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of stuff that you could really talk about with this Steelers team. Receiver looks good. I think you're getting good play from really every position right now. I'm going to go with an interior offensive lineman. I think you've gotten a lot of inconsistency up front. Obviously, you've dealt with injuries, but I think I'm going to go with Tyler Booker. I like his nastiness in the run game. Look, I want to go receiver for the Steelers. Calvin Austin's playing good football, and they just don't draft receivers in the first round. I'm going to take Tyler Booker, a player that I do really like. He's a top 20 guy in the class for me, a good run blocker, power blocker, fits the Steelers scheme perfectly. We're going to take him here at number 27. At number 28, we do have the Green Bay Packers. This is where you will see Benjamin Morrison come off the board. Really athletic, really good man coverage corner. I think he bites a little bit much, which scares me off just a little bit, but he's still a first-round talent to me, and I think he's got the upside to be an elite player in the NFL. At number 29, the Washington Commanders. We're taking one of my favorite players in the draft class in Malachi Starks. The safety position, unfortunately, isn't really valued super highly in the NFL draft. So he slips on the board, but can play in the slot, can play single high, can play in the box, can really play everywhere you want him to in the defensive backfield. He's a good run defender. He's excellent in man-to-man coverage. Really just an unbelievable talent that is going to be a steal here at number 29 to Washington. At number 30, the Houston Texans. I like the idea of going a linebacker here. I really like Jalen Walker. He's still on the board, but I think you've got to address the interior, the defensive line that has caused issues stopping the run. Give me Kenneth Grant. Falls way farther than he should have on the board. He's an unbelievable run stuffer with the upside to rush the passer in there as well. I think he's got a lot of tools and a lot of juice to be a great player. At number 31, the Detroit Lions. I've gone defensive line the last few weeks, but with the Jamison Williams suspension and now the issue of they found a gun in his car, we're just going to take a receiver here because that situation is starting to not look great. Give me Emeka Egbuka. Actually, yeah, we'll take Emeka Egbuka. Just a really fundamentally sound receiver that does all the little things that you want to see, all the nuances of the receiver position. It's in there for him. He's a really good player. We'll take him at 31. And then at 32, the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go interior defensive line. I'm not giving up just yet. I'm taking Deion Walker. The athleticism, the pass rush upside, it's there. Has he fallen down my board a little bit? Yes, but he's still a really fun player that I think could be an awesome talent if developed correctly. And if I trust a team to develop defensive players, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you have it. There is the mock draft. Super excited to go 3 rounds deep next week. Get to talk about some of the guys we mentioned, Kyle Kennard, David Walker, Mike Green, and get to talk about some fallers in this one. So super excited about that. Stay tuned for that. But let me know, which picks did you agree with? Which picks did you disagree with? Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.